and welcome to our program, Where God Weeps, a program in which we speak about the situation of the suffering church around the world. Today we're going to be speaking about the country of India. Although India is the second most populous country in the world with almost 1.2 billion people, only about 2% are Catholic. A few million are other Christian denominations, Buddhists, and a significant number are Muslims. But the majority, at 83%, are Hindus. The Church, despite being a minority, plays a significant role in providing healthcare, welfare services and education across the country. The vast majority of Indians which have converted to Christianity are from the lower strata, the so-called untouchables. To tell us more about Catholics in India, it is my pleasure to speak with Sister Salome Kipounamai, a St. Paul sister working in Mumbai in India. Sister Salome, thank you for being with us here today on our program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Sister, how did you and when did you have a first experience of God? When was it that you thought, God is real, God is something important in my life?
I would say when I was studying in the primary school, I always felt a kind of attraction to the life of sisters. I was already in the parish school, but then I don't know why, I never felt I would join the sisters, the Franciscan missionaries, the sisters in my parish. But when the Daughters of St. Paul came to my parish and spoke about their mission, and they also showed a short film on their life and mission, then I felt an immediate connection. But of course I did not join immediately. But then on, I began to think more often that I would become a nun. And I remember, but it was not something that's so easy for me. And I was also conscious that in case if I go to the convent and later on I feel that's not meant for me, it is a shame.
Yes.
In my place, they are very conscious about the prestige family. Like it's taken like betrayal.
If you don't complete something.
Yeah, yeah. So I was in a way, I felt, who knows, if God is really calling me to this life and if I would be able to live such kind of, but then I really prayed before joining the convent. And I remember one moment, evening time, when I was alone, I really prostrated on
You lay down
room. In my room to pray, seriously. Because I knew if I were to tell my parents that I would join the religious life, they would not support. I mean, my father would object, that I knew very well. But then the desire was growing very strongly in me, and I felt it's a moment for me to get out, to go out of the state, to go for higher studies where I can learn English better and then have possibility to enter the convent. So it's a very gradual process.
And you were lying prostrate on the floor?
And I prayed, I lied down and I prayed seriously to God to show me some light. I said, if it is a real genuine call that you are giving me, and if the desire within my heart is true, give me a way. If not, like to take away that kind of
desire.
Yeah, that's what I prayed. And then in that later year, I spoke to my father. I said, I I did not say I would like to join the convent because I knew he would not permit me at that moment. But I said I would like to go to a boarding school where I would learn English better. That he has no problem at all because he was always concerned about education. And then he willingly sent me to the boarding school close to the Daughters of St. Paul. And peacefully I went through all my education up to 10th.
Yes.
And then came the trouble.
Then came the...
Yeah.
You had to go back and you had to tell him?
Yes, when it was really time for me to join the convent, I mean as a candidate, among the Daughters of St. Paul, there is a possibility for a girl who wants to join after the 10th class. There is a period called Come and See. So it's a must. The girl goes for a period of 6 months to Bombay. It's very far from my place. And then the person sees their life and mission, and if she feels that she is called, she continues. Of course, the discernment is there from the part of the congregation.
Yes.
Yeah, so I wanted to go for that. When I came back home for holidays, timidly I brought forward this
topic.
Yeah, because now it's okay, 10th class I have done already. Now before going for further studies in college, I would like to
make a decision.
Yeah, so that was the time my father came very strongly on me.
He was against?
Yes, he said no. I mean very strong no. Usually I used to be a docile child. I mean I never contradict, or if sometimes if I want to go for a party with my friends and my father says today no, or this week no, then that's final. I don't argue anymore. But this time, I don't know, it's very strange. I had the courage. I was never giving up.
And finally?
I said no, I have to go. Then my father said no. He has a reason too, because I was actually quite young by then. And he said, you have not known life. You are only taken up by some strange ideas. And it's not a time don't think of such unnecessary thing now, your holiday time. Think of your college, the next step. That he said only so much and then left me. So I had to find ways to convince him each time. But finally, he was always saying no. So many times I, for the sake of keeping peace, I kept quiet. But when it was approaching for me to go, when my holidays was finishing, I said I have to. So I took courage and I said, in few days I'll have to go to Mumbai. So I said, I'm going. Whatever it may be, I'm going, I said. My father, he said, no, I am your father, and I said no. So I didn't know how I would go about, but I told my mother I am going. And she was in a way...
supporting.
She did not, at that moment, she did not really like me to join the convent, but then she says, if you are very strong, and if you think that is where you would find happiness, I would not say no. But she was trying in a way to bring peace.
Mediate.
Father, yes. Yeah.
Oh, sister.
So the next day when it was time, he went, the next morning I had to go. I was prepared with my luggage and everything else, but he has to give me the money. But I really trusted somehow it will happen. My parents went to the field as usual, and when they came back, I was already ready, set for leaving. And the next morning, I woke up. Oh no, actually the previous night itself, I was really troubled, and also my mother, I could see that she was not sleeping at all. In my next room, I called up Mommy, and she would immediately respond to me. Then I knew that she was awake. And the next morning, we woke up early as usual, and my mother prepared everything that was necessary for the journey. And I had something, I don't know. Then I went to my father's room, my parents' room. He did not get up that morning on purposely because he didn't want to see me off. Yeah. So I went to his bed and I said, Daddy, I'm going. My mother has already prepared things necessary for the journey and she's accompanying me. But I need to have a word from him. So I went to him and I said, Papa, I'm going. Send me with your blessing. But he said no. I have already said what I want to. I have already said what I want to tell you, and my final decision is no. But if you, as my daughter, want to do something that is apart from my will, you go. You go and do whatever you want. That is what he said, and I broke down. It was a very emotional moment. I cried, and I said, I'm very sure this is my life, and I will not disappoint you. I said, I will not disappoint you, but I want to go from the house with your blessing. But then when he was, he also cried. I saw my father cried for the first time. Yes. Maybe he cried when his parents died, but I was small and I did not notice. But this time, my father cried because of me. But I knew that I was not doing something wrong. And I also knew that what he does is because of the love for me. Maybe maybe he has not really understood that moment, the value of religious life. But it has a time, and it was not ready for him. So anyway, I went. I went with my mother and my small brother. I went away because it's very far from my place. I have to. And that's how I went, and I completed.
Have you reconciled with your father? Did your father?
Yes.
Your father understood?
Yeah, it's a long way because after the 6 months come-and-see period, I have to come back home for holidays as usual, like any other girl. But I could see the disappointment in my father because when I was a student, when I came home for holidays, he was already there at the station to receive me. This time, no. So there is a visible disappointment in him, and it was really a struggle on my part. Also, as a young girl, I felt that kind of
rejection.
Yeah, that pain. But it is a slow process, and after that period, I have to do I had to do my education.
Yes, of course.
+2, the college, which my family has to support again. But he did that as a responsible father. But in a way, after that, he would never, tell me that he's not happy about me, but it's quite visible in his way. Yeah.
How is it today?
He is happy. That is the good news.
Yes.
Yeah, but before my profession, my first profession, he has already accepted. Because after the religious training, when I go home, he sensed that I was happy. And he said, after all that I wanted is your happiness. If you truly find that this is what is giving you joy, happiness, then you go.
Sister, now you're working as a St. Paul sister.
Yes.
And you're responsible for evangelization through media, through books. And can you tell us a little bit, what does this evangelization work involve? And how do you reach out to young people, especially in India, with the faith?
Yeah.
Also perhaps in this environment of, perhaps, I'm not sure, you must tell me, but it's a predominantly Hindu country.
Yes.
And with a very great change going on. India is changing very rapidly, especially also with new secularization and new, let's say, temptations coming in through secularization. How do you evangelize today as a St. Paul sister?
I personally feel we have a big role to play, because the St. Paul sisters evangelize through publication of books, also audiovisuals, films, music. Music play a big part, and also catechesis in the parishes and media education in schools and colleges also. As Father Alberone, our founder, would say, there are different levels of poverty. If you see in India, India is a poor country, and the missionaries of charity, Mother Teresa, deals with the poverty of different kind, of physical poverty. But my founder would say the poverty of the mind, the spiritual poverty and the poverty of moral poverty, it's much more dangerous than the physical poverty, because it is here the poverty of the mind and the spirit, where the person can do dangerous thing, not only to the body but to the whole human being. So here is where the apostolate, the mission of the Daughters of St. Paul is relevant. Yes, there is, as you said, there is a growing sense of secularism,
yes,
especially in big cities like Mumbai.
Where you are is Mumbai, no?
Yes.
Sister, how are Catholic sisters viewed in India? Are you treated, for example, by the Hindu majority? Are you generally treated with respect? You can move freely, you can evangelize freely. Are there restrictions on your work? And if so, how?
Generally, we are treated with respect, at least in my experience. In most part of the country, I find that the common people are quite open. The problem is with the fundamentalists, those with some radical ideas. They are the one instigating and politicizing things that are not true. But otherwise, the people generally, the Indian people are accommodative of other people, and they'll do respect a lot. Yes, but there are certain sensitive area where we have to be more prudent in our mission. For example, when I was in Gujarat and I was going around with a publication of books, I and the other sister, we had gone to a state called Madhya Pradesh, somewhere north India, where the people are dominantly Hindus. There we experience a little bit of difficulty in ways that people are more suspicious of our going about. I see in the religious uniform, they already have in mind the issue of conversion. So when we go to the schools, the principal and staff are very afraid that we would give literature that would influence the Hindu children. Instead, no, we have books that give that promotes human values, that educate. These are the books that we have. But when they open our books, on the first page it's written, the Daughters of St. Paul are committed to promote Christian and human values. That word is enough for them.
And then
and they said they are quite afraid. That is what we experience. So a certain area, it is more sensitive.
They would ask you to leave, or they would ask you to stop working, or how did you experience the difficulty?
Yeah, many of the schools would not allow us to have a book display. We would have to really, go away to the other schools, even Catholic schools, private Catholic schools, run by maybe a Catholic principal, lay person. Because of the situation around, they are quite, careful.
Where do you see the hope for India. It's a predominantly Hindu country. The Christian population is relatively small in relation.
Yeah.
How do you see the hope of your work? What gives you hope in moving ahead, in proclaiming the word of Christ, of being a visible presence of Jesus in India? How do you see hope, and where do you see your hope?
We have to, the situation is difficult. It is becoming more and more difficult, but then...
Because of this fundamentalism, or why is it becoming more difficult?
Also, yes, but also sometimes it depends also the policies of the government that does not support much, or in a what do you say, in a subtle way. There are policies that is not very supportive of the missionary work, so that way. But then there is always hope, and I feel the big challenge for us as a religious in general, and also the daughters of St. Paul, is to build more and more the sense of community, interreligious community among us. So that is the area that we are trying to work much more, involving more and more people of other religions. There are a lot of people of goodwill around us. If we can connect them and network with them, we can do a lot, because people are able to trust the association. For example, the Hindus will be more comfortable if they see a Hindu leader being present there for some function organized by the Catholics. That way, if we are able to get if we are able to do networking with religious leaders or people of other faiths or of other culture, we would grow.
Yes, this strengthens the. So it's in some ways through witness. It's an interreligious dialogue. What you're doing.
Yes.
Through bringing the people together.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have initiated already 4 years now, the Daughters of St. Paul in Mumbai. Every year we have interreligious press service somewhere in January. So there we invite communities from different religious background, also their leaders, and we would have a place where we pray together. We take a passage from Christian scripture, Bible, and we take a passage from the Hindu scripture, Bhagavad Gita, and also the Sikh, the Punjabis, and the Muslims. And it is working quite well. In fact, the sister in charge, Sister Pauline, has a good team of people who are working very closely with them, and among them are the Hindus for the Bandra Bill, they said. So in this way, I feel we can work much more, because what is important is for India, I feel that sense of religious tolerance and sense of peaceful coexistence is very important.
Yes. Sister, if we were to say, in terms of this pastoral work that you are doing, what is it that we can do? How can we help you in this pastoral work, in this evangelization, in this primary evangelization in many regards of your work in India?
There are a lot of ways in which the NGOs or the charitable trust can do, in ways of maybe, since we are dealing directly with evangelization, maybe you can sponsor for subsidy of a children's Bible, for example, or also we had some years ago we had help coming from out. When we were able to give out a mini library to a poorer parishes and schools. We identify and then we give certain amount of books and CDs, and which is educative as well as
pastoral.
Pastoral, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Without which we do what we can to for subsidy and also free distribution. But then, if an organization like you can help us out in this way, it will be a great help.
And for many of these children, it would be perhaps the first book that they've ever held in their hand.
Yes, in fact. And this year too, we had done a lot as a congregation. We had given a free children's Bible with pictures to, quite a good number of it.
Of children's Bibles.
Yes.
Sister Salome, thank you very much for having been with us today on our program. It was a great pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure for me too.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today on our program on Where God Weeps. We've been with Sister Salome, speaking about the Daughters of St. Paul and their particular work in India to spread the gospel. If you'd like to know more and how you might be able to help, either through prayer or concrete action, I would encourage you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.